Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a user named Bad Megalovania Remix in the relationship subreddit. The post is titled, "My boyfriend's parents are abusive and I refuse to go back to their home after an incident. I mostly need to get this off my chest, I won't lie. Charlie lives 15 to 20 minutes away by car. We've been dating for 5 months, and it used to be my pleasure to drive up there and spend a few nights at his place. I knew his parents were abusive, they scream at him for nothing sometimes, physically assault him, and take away his phone and computer. He will be able to get out of there by the end of the school year when he gets an internship. His plan for the future is to have very limited to absolutely no contact with his awful family. I tried to make sure his family liked me, and it worked. I always tried to be very agreeable and nice to them, and since they love keeping up appearances anyway, it worked pretty well. Some time ago, I'm going to guess about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was staying over on a Sunday evening, and I didn't have my car because a friend of ours was going to drive us to school in the morning. The parents had been away all day. They came home in the evening, and Charlie's little sister, who is 17, went to complain that we ate too much lasagna or something. Okay, sibling trouble. His parents then proceeded to severely overreact to dumb sibling trouble by calling him into the kitchen, berating him, and screaming at him. He apologized and left me in the room while he went there, telling me not to worry too much and that this is normal for him. It happens all the time. So there I was, alone in his room in the dark, absolutely panicked because nothing terrifies me more than people screaming. I felt helpless, alone, in danger, and with no way out because I didn't even have my car there. I had been in this situation before and it went about the same way. I don't know how to really convey how terrified I was. So I was having a terrible panic attack and crying like I was actively trying to shoot my eyes out of my sockets. Then I heard a bang and louder screaming, so I thought they were attacking Charlie and I panicked even more and went to the kitchen. I arrived and attempted to say something like, "Is everything okay in here?" But it came out as, "What is wrong with you people?" in a broken, tearful, pathetic, screamy voice. Obviously, I still regret this. It sounds like a bad excuse, but I wasn't really in control at that point. Next thing I know, Charlie's father, a terrifying man, is millimeters away from my face, screaming at me so hard I think he actually spluttered on my face. My first instinct was to block him with my arm and push him away as hard as I could, and from there, my boyfriend finished the job by pushing him the hell away. It was a mess. Everyone was screaming. I was trying to get my phone and kept repeating, "I'm calling my dad, I'm calling my dad." In the end, I didn't. I was still sobbing so hard, my chest was actually hurting. At some point, I thought I couldn't breathe anymore. When Charlie was done pushing the whole family away from me, he gently took me by the shoulders and led me outside to get away and calm down. He was very sweet and patient and seemed to know exactly what to do, including getting me out of there. His mother came out a few times to the doorstep to glare at us wordlessly. Charlie said, "Go away, can't you see she's not doing well? Can't you see this isn't normal behavior? She's not used to it." She tried arguing that I wasn't supposed to speak to them this way, but he made her leave. He let me calm down, said it was a normal reaction, and I kept apologizing, but he didn't let me. He let me go inside to pack my bags and talk to his family in the meantime, so I didn't have to face them. We left through the window so they wouldn't try to stop us and went to seek refuge at his aunt's place. Everyone there was very sweet and welcoming. Everyone in the family knows Charlie's mom is a monster. I haven't faced Charlie's parents since. I refused to. Charlie told me he told his mom, "This isn't normal," and she said, "Do you think she's normal with her gross scars all over her arms?" I used to self-harm and I haven't done it in years. My scars are very faded. She's just a disgusting, vile woman. The thought of talking to them makes me sick. I ignored them the last time I saw them from far away. Last time I picked up my boyfriend, I was very scared just from being in my locked car in front of the house for 5 minutes. I know I'm not over it and need to process it. I was actually hoping this thread would help me overcome the OP and finally text my therapist. My boyfriend seems to understand that I don't want to come back. I told him I probably wouldn't apologize to his parents and didn't want to see them. At least for now, I just can't. He seems to be getting sort of tired of it though. I feel bad that he has to come over, though I try to make it as comfortable as possible and my family likes him. He expressed today that he's sort of upset that he has to choose between being home and being with me. I don't think he understands how terrified I was, and I don't know how to tell him, so he understands. I have this feeling that he's so used to it, he just thinks I should stop feeling bad after a few days. That's sort of the way he acts sometimes, though he keeps telling me it's alright. I know it bothers him. I don't know what to do. My boyfriend's parents were horrible enough to make me have a panic attack. I don't want to see them ever again. My boyfriend keeps saying he understands, but he's getting tired of having to choose between being home and being with me. Thank you. I didn't expect so many responses. I don't know how to answer everybody, but I appreciate every response, even those who try to determine in what context it is okay to assault your child over lasagna. I'd like to stress that the reason I was so panicky is also because they have a history of physical abuse. I ran in when I thought they might be hitting Charlie. I agree I was overreacting. I disagree though that I owe them any excuses because acting adequately would have been to leave quietly and never cross paths with these people again. Charlie and I are on the same team. We've been talking about this and I've been translating the comments for him. This post led to a sincere talk about how we were both feeling about it, and that's ultimately what I wanted. I am not going back there, and Charlie agrees with that fully. He said he didn't realize I took it so harshly and was still thinking about it. Obviously, he's not a mind reader. Charlie is getting out in a few months. That's when we all leave the school we're both in for an internship, and until then, we're gonna make it work like this. Thank you. A year later, OP gave us an update. What happened in the original post is that I had a boyfriend who had a physically abusive family. The boyfriend would convince me to stay over at his house all the time because I had a license and he was too lazy to get his own. He insisted I play nice with his disgusting family so his life would be easier. I did so because I had a lot of sympathy for his situation. He knew about my history of abuse, how scared I was of his father, and how terrified I could get of everything sometimes. But he still nagged me to stay over at his place because he didn't feel like going over to mine. That particular night, he convinced me to stay over without my car as a friend would pick us up to go to school in the morning. I forget why I didn't have my car, sorry. His parents came home and started screaming at him. What I described as a panic attack was actually an emotional flashback to severe childhood abuse. When I heard what sounded like someone hitting my ex in the kitchen, I went there because I was afraid for him and reverted to what would sometimes end the screaming matches in my family when I was younger and my brother was there, crying out for them to stop. In my family, it would lead to them switching from screaming to insulting me and being mad at me more quietly. Here, it resulted in the father screaming in my face and me pushing him away instinctively. Some posters commented on me saying, "I'll call my dad," and not doing it. I didn't explain that I wouldn't have called my dad as I felt like this was all my fault. I said that to introduce the idea that another adult could hear them behave this way and see if it would affect their behavior. Later, we had to flee out of the window to go to my ex's aunt's house. My ex caught me writing the last post. He laughed at comments that said he shouldn't want me to go back there and agreed with comments that said my decision was stupid, which I guess it was. I didn't dare talk back to commenters and pretended like my ex completely rejected his parents and was a good person. What I didn't say is that he never got a job during the summer despite multiple family members offering him easy work, always wanted to go out for fast food and let me pay, and told me that not everyone was as wealthy as I was when I complained. I had gotten a summer job at a clinic despite crippling yet undiagnosed trauma, making me cry and hurt myself every morning and evening because I was so scared of interacting with people. 2 months after that post, he got tired of coming over and nagged me into apologizing to his parents. I went back despite being absolutely terrified just being in the house. When he stayed over at my place where my parents left us alone, he stayed up all night playing video games despite me telling him I couldn't sleep. He didn't care. I was severely sleep deprived all the time. He would smoke on the balcony despite me asking him not to, stomp around the house at night when everyone was asleep, and then would sleep until sometimes 6 p.m., leaving me to wait around the house for him until it was dark and the day was practically over for me. He had no respect for the routine I'd set up for myself to exercise, be healthy, and keep my head above water. He got mad at me the one time I self-harmed, then told his female friend over a call what I'd done after she admitted to doing the same. He comforted her the way he never comforted me and told her she was beautiful and unique. I had to buy him his tobacco, rolling papers, and filters to keep him from being horrible. He said he couldn't help it when he didn't smoke for a while. At the time, I was still trying to quit smoking, and not having a cigarette made me upset, but not to the point of being mean to my partner. He never brushed his teeth. He got really mad at me when I asked him to brush his teeth and ignored me. Combine this with 20 cigarettes a day. I was prescribed medication, and it did nothing but give me bad side effects. When I went off it, I had terrible withdrawal symptoms, weird electric shocks, flu-like symptoms, and terrible despair and crying. I once spent an entire night crying my eyes out and being sick while he ignored me and played video games, not even turning off the screen to let me sleep. He would punch walls when he was mad. I would show up at his house to go to our planned date, and he would be drunk, and I had to sit down and wait for hours until he could move without puking. He would tell me he'd come to my house in the evening and be 5 hours late. Once, he literally went to the cinema with a friend without telling me after he said he'd come over. He laughed at me when I was upset. He dragged me to parties when I said I was afraid of people yelling and being drunk. He got mad at me until I went. He was either upset at me when I had to leave because I was terrified, or pretended to care about my well-being for 5 minutes and stayed at the party while I drove home sobbing, until he drank a bottle of vodka and ate 5 edibles at once because he thought that was some weak stuff, and then I had to come pick him up in my pajamas and hold him all night until he stopped crying about people's faces being made of colors. But you know the very worst thing in that relationship? I stayed while he was passed out drunk. I kept giving my money away after I said I didn't like it. I bought him more cigarettes. I didn't kick him out of my house. I drove him everywhere. I let him make fun of me and mess with my head. I went back to his abusive household and played nice. So much of it is on me. I'm so very mad at him, but really I am so mad at myself. I can't believe this was all I thought I was worth. I moved to the UK from the south of France in May for an internship. I left him after he told me I was just too lazy to make food and I should stop complaining because he's got real problems. This was in response to me being exhausted all the time and being literally too scared to go outside and go grocery shopping. Panic attack level scared. His problems were him doing badly in school and not caring about it, and sleep apnea I'd been trying to get him to see a doctor and treat for 6 months. At this point, he still wasn't trying to move out and was content letting his mom iron his t-shirts and playing video games all day and night while being silent on calls with me. I'm still in the UK, I made a few friends, I discovered I have complex trauma. It's very hard and I've been very alone. I feel a lot of shame. I've been making sense of my life and relationships up until now. I needed to write this somewhere people will see it. You don't have to stay with people who let you cry your eyes out over your dead cat while ignoring you and complaining that your parents' food is disgusting and he wants to go to Burger King and let you pay for it. Unlikely thanks to that one commenter on my previous post who said I probably have trauma and I should get out of that mess that we all laughed at and downvoted at the time. Cheers, mate. I wasn't expecting so many comments. I can't answer everyone, but I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for the support. Beach Pellini said, so he was just as abusive as his awful family and expected her to just put up with it. I hope she was able to stay in the UK and build a better support system. May that entire mess stay forever in the past. Graceland Rocks said, I do feel a bit sorry for the ex because we had a ringside view of where he learned his abusive behaviors. He is 21 and I hope OP dumping his sorry ass and leaving is a wake-up call, but I doubt it will be. He will just believe that she is the awful one for leaving and refuse to introspect. OP, despite all her trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, has a backbone of steel. She left. I hope she realizes that she is stronger than she thinks. Different Leather said, oh, this poor kid. I know she was technically an adult, but being abused at home messes with your maturity. In some ways, you are old before your time, and in others, you are still a child. I am glad she got out, and I hope she is doing well now. Too many people find new abusers, start abusing others, or both. The fact that she left him and was saying she deserved better, as well as having an actual diagnosis, means she is probably getting help. I have hope for her, which is hard to have with many of these stories. The second post was made in the True Off My Chest subreddit by a user named No Name in the True Off My Chest subreddit. The post is titled, My Ex-Fiance Injured Me by Attempting Anal Without Preparation or Consent. My confession is that I'm so embarrassed to tell people what happened. We were having vaginal sex and he was behind me. He claims he missed and got me in the anus twice. There was no lubrication, no preparation, and I had not consented to anal sex. He had been pressuring me to do it, but I always said no. The pain was so bad that I fainted the second time. I ended up bleeding and had a huge bruise on my face from where I smacked the headboard when I fainted. I had to be admitted to the hospital. Because of the bruise on my face, everyone thought I ended up in the hospital because he hit me. I have said that this is not what happened, but that just made everyone think I am covering for him, even though I broke up with him. I am so embarrassed to tell everyone what really happened, especially my parents and grandparents, but everyone else too. It was embarrassing enough with the medics, doctors, nurses, and all the exams, and now having to watch what I eat and take stool softening pills for a while. It even hurts me to sit. I wish everyone would drop it and move on, but they all want to know the real story, which I am too embarrassed to tell. 2.5 years later, OP gave us an update. I wanted to post here to say thank you because of how much support I received. I was still in denial when I posted, but there were so many kind comments. My backstory is that I was sexually assaulted by my fiance. He tried saying he missed during sex and penetrated me anally by mistake twice. He had always wanted to try anal sex, but I always said no. There was no preparation and it hurt me. I ended up passing out from the pain, which resulted in me being admitted to the hospital with anal bleeding and a head injury from hitting my head on the headboard when I passed out. My entire face, especially my forehead, was completely bruised. I broke up with my fiance because we had a huge fight at the hospital after he blamed me for what happened. However, I was still so ashamed that I did not tell my family or anyone else the true story about what happened. I only told the hospital staff. Waking up in the hospital was scary, but the hospital staff, the police, and the social workers were so kind. Even when I posted here the first time, I was still in denial about what happened. Due to my injuries, the hospital automatically notified the police. The police treated it as a domestic violence case. Many times I read online and hear about people deciding to press charges, but I found out that is a myth. First, only the police can charge someone. Second, if there is a domestic violence situation, the police do not ask the opinion of the victim since the victim will often cover for the abuser or try to have the charges dropped. I was not given any choice in him being charged. My ex-fiancé was arrested and faced 2 charges over what he did to me. Separately, he was charged for lying to the police. He was put on a no-contact order for me when he was arrested and was given bail at first. His bail was canceled after a few months. It is a standard condition for everyone on bail to give their passport to the police. He had told the police he did not have a passport, but then they found out he had plane tickets for a relative's wedding in the United States, which required a passport since it is international travel. He thought it was not a big deal because he bought a return ticket too, but since he was not allowed to leave the country and had told the police he did not have a passport when asked to surrender it, his bail was canceled. He received a 4th charge over the passport incident. I have not seen him since we broke up except when I testified in court. The police and a social worker kept me up to date about his bail and everything else. I have not had any contact from him since our argument in the hospital. He was convicted on all charges he faced, so he has a criminal record and is also a sex offender. I will not lie, testifying in court was the worst day of my life besides the night he hurt me. I was not even sure I wanted to testify, but I was legally required to, so at the end of the day, I faced this. Our neighbors called for an ambulance because of the commotion, so a lot of people on our street saw me naked. I saw one of my neighbors at court. It was really humiliating to have to talk about everything in front of so many strangers, but I am doing much better now. I enrolled in university and have started making friends. I have been seeing a counselor since I was released from the hospital. Most of the time, I am not embarrassed that my family and friends know what happened to me. I will forever appreciate the kind comments I got here when I was still too much in denial over what happened. None of you have any idea how much your kindness means. Thank you to everyone who posted to support me, even though I was obviously still in denial back then. Fabi said, I hope the ex rots both in jail and in hell. I'm a Mage said, far out the full story definitely sounds even worse than what was initially laid out in the original post. Like, what on earth did he do that there was enough of a commotion for the neighbors to call the police? Because it sounds like she was passed out. Unless they called the police due to the sounds being made before she passed out? I don't know, and I don't want to know. I'm just glad the police and hospital took it seriously and that he was held accountable by the courts, because he absolutely raped her. I am sure it was hard for her to deal with and she shouldn't have had to, but it may stop him from hurting someone else. I hope she can move on now. Sass McQueen said, I went through almost the same thing with an ex, though he was drunk and didn't even try to call it an accident. I didn't tell anyone for over 5 years, and he never faced repercussions due to my own fears. I am so proud of OP for truthfully reporting the situation at the hospital, and I'm glad she got some justice. I wish peace and love upon her. This last post was made in the same subreddit by a user named Icy Attitude. The post is titled, I'm worried that my husband's comments to my sister may have driven her away. I've known my husband for 6 years and have been married for 1. I moved across the country for college when I was 18, where I met my husband, who was 24 at the time. I was 25. I've only been back a couple of times over the years, mostly for holidays, but my husband had never gone back with me until we ended up moving back to be closer to my family. Since we've been back, I've been trying to get closer to my family, especially my sister. She was in some bad relationships and cut off contact with me and my parents for a few years, but she's back now and I had hoped that we'd be able to build a relationship. I had noticed that she hadn't been coming over to my place as much or spending as much time with the family. Then a few weekends ago, she asked me if we could talk. She said that she felt she wanted to let me know that my husband had been making comments and saying things to her that she thought were inappropriate. My sister is gorgeous, beyond beautiful, and she's always attracted attention, even from married men. My husband had been making comments about her body and her looks, compliments, but ones that made her feel uncomfortable. During Christmas, he had told her how attractive she was and said some things about how lucky her boyfriend was. Since then, she's been trying to avoid being around him by not coming around as much and was afraid of how I was going to react if I found out. I was obviously really upset, but I told her that I understood, that it wasn't her fault, and that it wouldn't happen again. My husband and I ended up in a fight when I confronted him about what she had told me, but eventually he admitted that he had said most of that stuff to her, even though he tried to pass it off as if he didn't mean anything by it. I made it clear that he wasn't to say anything like that to her again and that he needed to apologize for his inappropriateness. He agreed with everything I asked of him. I let her know about my conversation with my husband and that he would apologize whenever she felt like hearing it, but she still hasn't been coming around to family events. I'm so scared that his comments have driven a wedge between my sister and the rest of us. She and I hadn't talked for a long time until I moved back, and I've been scared that something is going to make her want to leave again. Update. I was honestly so surprised by the number of responses that my original post garnered. I tried to read everyone's thoughts, and I just want to say that I am really grateful to everyone who offered some perspective and took the time to share their thoughts, even if they were upset that I was handling everything the wrong way. I wanted to update anyone who is interested in the current state of everything. I feel I'm still gonna upset and anger some people, but I'm trying to work through all that has happened in the last few weeks, and I hope that I can eventually wrap my head around the situation and make better choices. One of the things many people said is that my husband may have said or done more than my sister told me, that she feels unsafe and that I've betrayed her. This thought has weighed heavily on my shoulders. I'm struggling very hard with what to do next. The main update I have is that my sister and I have been talking. She hadn't been responding to most of my messages and calls since the last time we spoke in person. The last message I sent her was asking if she wanted to get lunch, which was the day before I posted. She ended up answering a couple of days after the post and agreed to have lunch with me. When we met up, she acted very normal. She seemed very much like her usual self, bubbly and outgoing. I honestly can't tell if she's more upset and bothered than she's letting on. Her birthday is coming up at the end of this month and she wants to have a girls trip or a weekend away. She wants my help planning everything. She seems excited about that, and as far as I can tell, she is behaving as if everything is fine. I didn't know if I should bring up the situation with my husband, but I ended up asking her about it again. She reiterated what she had told me before. He complimented her looks and outfits in a suggestive way and said the thing about her boyfriend being a lucky man. She said again that she was mostly concerned about how I was going to feel about it. I didn't ask her if she felt unsafe around him. I feel now like I should have, but at the time I was still afraid she didn't trust me and might feel like I was putting her on the spot. During lunch, I asked her what she would think if I left him. She repeated that her main worry before coming to me was causing issues between my husband and me, but told me that she didn't like my husband and didn't think he was a good guy in general and specifically for me. I'm still worried about her, that she feels threatened and afraid of my husband, but right now she's acting okay with me. I'm hoping that if things continue to seem normal, we can keep talking and she might open up more. Since that lunch, we've seen each other several times. I made dinner for my mom last Sunday and my sister came over to eat with us. Then we did some planning for her birthday. Again, she's still acting as if everything is normal, but I'm still incredibly worried about her. The other thing that happened is that I started sleeping over at my mom's house. My mom has been having health and mobility issues that have made it difficult for her to do a lot. I had been trying to do as much as I could for her, but she's been needing someone around more full time. I'd been so overwhelmed these past few months, driving over to her house every day to drop off food and do the things around the house she needed. I'd already been considering finding someone to stay with her until she's back on her feet. After everything that happened and then what I read in the last post, I talked to her about it. She agreed to let me stay with her in exchange for helping her out more. My mom's extra bedrooms are used as storage, so I had to spend last weekend uncluttering a place to sleep, but one of my sister's friends came over to help me clear out the room, and I've been staying here since then. My husband figured out what I was doing and asked if it was because of what had happened with my sister. I told him that I wasn't lying about wanting to help my mom more, but that it was part of it. He was pretty upset, but he eventually let it go. Right now, my primary focus has to be on helping my mom and bringing my grades up. I'm in graduate school and I've been too anxious and upset over the last few weeks to concentrate, and I can't afford to let my grade point average slide. I'm also trying to be available for my sister whenever she wants to talk. Even though things appear stable with her right now, I'm still really anxious about what she might be thinking and feeling. It's a lot, and I'm really struggling to figure out how to balance everything right now. My sister has been really helpful, and so has her friend. My sister brought dinner for me and my mom this week, and her friend left some frozen meals for me to heat up when I'm too tired or busy to cook. He's also going to help me get my mom to her doctor's appointments this week. I'm scared to admit that I still don't know what to do about my husband. I got so many messages and direct messages from people who were upset that I hadn't left him yet, but I'm still just feeling too overwhelmed to really come to terms with everything. I'm just trying to get through next month. I've got midterms and my sister's birthday, and then I feel like I can take a breath and take some time to figure out what to do about my relationship. It's very hard to think clearly right now, and I hope that the space between my husband and me is going to help and not hinder that. My husband is extremely upset. He's been calling and texting night and day with all the same questions I couldn't answer in my last post, and I feel bad that I don't have any answers for anyone yet, but unfortunately, I'm still trying to figure it out. Again, I know there are many people who are going to hate me for this, and I'm sorry, but I'm still just trying to wrap my mind around everything. Update 2. I wasn't planning on making another update post, but I received a couple of comments and messages today, so I wanted to share my final update. My husband and I are going to be splitting up. As I said in my previous update, I moved in with my mom to take care of her for a few months, hoping that time apart would give me some clarity about everything. And as I mentioned before, my husband really didn't like that at all. We've probably fought more over the past month than we have in our entire marriage. Then, during one of our arguments, he said some awful, nasty things about my sister, and at that point, I didn't want to continue with him or the relationship. I'm still at a loss about what to do next. One of my sister's friends connected me with a lawyer, and it's been overwhelming. I still have my mother, graduate school, and my job to manage. So with divorce on the docket, I'm just trying to keep my head above water right now. Also, I just wanted to say thank you to the people who gave me encouragement and offered genuine guidance. Aquatic Stoner said, "Let the trash take itself out." I'm so glad the sister actually reached out too, and that they're talking. It would have been so messed up if this gross human being had ruined a good sisterhood like that. Wonderful Kneecap said, "Any man who hits on his wife's sister is a predator. It is so boundary testing, and he was one betting on the sister's silence and two trying to isolate both her and his wife. I am so glad she is rid of him before she had a child. God forbid it be a daughter." Ordinary Mortgage said, "Any guy who compliments his wife's sister in such an inappropriate manner is not worth the time. It is one thing to compliment a meal, intelligence, kindness, or similar qualities, but saying she is attractive and that her partner is lucky is just icky. It is akin to cheating because it acknowledges an attraction he should not even be entertaining, and vocalizing it just affirms that. Good riddance." Thank you so much for making it to the end of the video, and thank you also to partner of the channel, GamerSupps. Use code DLAM to support the channel and get 10% off of your purchase, link in the description. I'm sure many of you like me have a hankering for daily caffeine, so go check them out. Lately, I've been a big fan of Titty Milk and Acid Rain, but they've got dozens of other flavors for y'all to try out. Anyway, thanks again for reaching the end, and I hope you all have an amazing passage of the next 24 hours.